Joseph continues explaining to Aiden the events leading up to his return. A few days ago, at the Duke Remes estate, messengers, munches, from the Holy Fire Order arrived to take Joseph and his daughter, Ellis, back to the order. Spell, a loyal servant of the Duke, sternly told them that without the Duke's direct orders, no one could take the Duke's guests from his estate. One of the munches grew furious, shouting about the sacred duty of the church and threatening severe consequences if the Duke obstructed the church's holy mission. The munch demanded that Joseph be handed over immediately. At that moment, Joseph appeared at the door. Spell was surprised, telling Joseph he didn't need to come out. The munch immediately recognized Joseph and insisted on speaking with him privately. Joseph, concerned about causing more trouble for Aiden, agreed, and they moved into a separate room to talk. Inside, the munch expressed relief at seeing Joseph alive, explaining that he had assumed Joseph had died after fleeing with his daughter. He then admitted that the reason he realized Joseph was still alive was due to the Cerberus Guild annihilation incident that led him to Joseph's location, and he was sent to retrieve Joseph and his daughter for the Holy Fire Order. Angry, Joseph questioned why the munch hadn't sought him out sooner and why the church was so determined to bring them back now. The munch then explained that no stigma-bearer had been born for years, raising concern within the church. His tone became serious as he emphasized the need to bring Joseph and Ellis back, despite the church still having those who might target Ellis for her stigma. Joseph, worried for his daughter's safety, protested, saying he couldn't send Ellis to such a dangerous place. The munch replied that it was out of necessity. They had no choice but to take Joseph and Ellis back. Finally, Joseph reveals to Aiden that the real reason they want him back is because the high priest has collapsed due to an illness, and their return is critical to the order. Aiden, overwhelmed by the weight of the situation, stood up and shouted in shock, "What? The high priest collapsed due to an illness?" Joseph, looking worried, confirmed, "Yes, it seems even the church's holy arts and advanced medical technology cannot cure him." Joseph explained further, the church's reputation is declining rapidly. With the high priest falling ill, they must feel a tremendous sense of crisis. In the worst case, the holy fire could be extinguished, leading to the church's demise. Joseph, standing straight, added, in 4 days they plan to conduct the saint's awakening ceremony for Ellis, making her the new saint. Her strong, holy power will then be used to heal the high priest. Once the vacant saint position is filled, the holy fire will burn even brighter, and the church can regain its former status. Joseph, sitting down again, sincerely apologized. "I'm truly sorry, Aiden, for causing all this trouble without explaining anything earlier." Aiden remained silent, his hands still gripping the table. Sweat dripped down Joseph's face as he anxiously wondered whether Aiden was angry. Aiden, gritting his teeth, was lost in thought. What on earth is going on? He wondered. Something feels off here. In his mind, Aiden reflected on how this illness wasn't supposed to happen yet. The high priest Kirtle's illness should occur about 3 years from now, Aiden thought, still grinding his teeth. Why has an event from the future been moved forward? Could it be that the future is changing because of me? Determined, Aiden left Joseph's room and walked down the hallway alongside Priest Bali. As he walked, he thought to himself, I have Joseph's permission to stay, but now I need to figure out where the future started to diverge. Hearing this, the Underlord, clearly shocked, asked Aiden, "You mean we have to stay in this dreadful place even longer?" Aiden replied, "There must be a reason why the past has changed, and I need to find out what it is. If we figure it out quickly, we can leave soon. So, you need to help me too." As they reached the door of the high priest's room, Bali pointed toward it and said, "This is where the high priest is staying. As I mentioned earlier, visiting time is only 5 minutes, so be quick." Bali then opened the door for Aiden to enter. As Aiden entered the room, he was immediately hit by the overwhelming stench of a strange, purple aura floating around. He wrinkled his nose in disgust and thought to himself, this stench is terrible. His gaze shifted toward the high priest Kirtle, who lay unconscious on the bed, his frail body barely hanging on. Aiden approached closer, carefully observing the old man's condition. He looks awful, Aiden thought, In my past life, this kind old man died before I could repay my debt for saving me. Aiden clenched his fists, troubled by the sight. I plan to repay that debt, but what is this? Suddenly, his eyes widened in shock. He could see a sinister purple aura releasing from the high priest's body. What is this? Aiden wondered. This energy, it feels familiar yet ominous. Then, without warning, the Underlord's voice echoed in his mind. Didn't you see that a lot in your previous life? Aiden, still trying to grasp what he was seeing, replied, I have seen this before. But, before Aiden could finish, the Underlord interrupted with a grin. It's a curse. Aiden froze, his heart skipping a beat. What did you just say? He asked, his voice filled with shock. The Underlord continued smugly. Normally, it's impossible for a human like you to see a curse. But since you've got the soul of the great Underlord within you, you can see it clearly through me. Aiden's mind raced as the Underlord elaborated. This curse is cleverly and delicately crafted. A thin curse has been accumulating over a long period. That's why his body collapsed. Aiden's eyes darkened with rage, his fists clenching tighter. Curses. Those are the domain of warlocks, Aiden muttered through gritted teeth. His mind whirled as he tried to process the situation. If this curse has been accumulating for so long, then that means the high priest faced an assassination attempt by a warlock hiding within the church. Aiden's blood boiled at the realization. So even in my past life, that wasn't a disease. His anger escalated, and the veins in his neck tightened as his eyes glowed red with fury. How can we break this curse? He demanded, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. The Underlord, still grinning, replied, This curse has almost become one with his body. A curse this deeply integrated is nearly impossible to break. Even the caster would have difficulty undoing it. Aiden's jaw tightened, but then the Underlord added, However, if there's a solution, it would require either a warlock who knows the structure of the curse perfectly, or, he paused dramatically, as Joseph mentioned, injecting an immense amount of holy power all at once. Aiden, after thinking about the curse on the high priest, realized the terrifying implications. If Ellis succeeds in the Saint's awakening ceremony, she'll become a major threat to the caster of the curse. If the high priest is healed, all the efforts to curse him will be undone. A bead of sweat formed on Aiden's brow as he thought. That means Ellis is in grave danger. The caster may target her next. Suddenly, a loud scream broke through his thoughts. He immediately recognized Ellis's voice. Panic surged through him. Did they already move to kill Ellis? Without hesitation, Aiden dashed toward her room. As he ran, his mind raced. I have to get there in time. Ellis can't die. When he arrived at Ellis's room, he saw several monks standing outside, looking confused. Inside, a worried maid stood frozen. Aiden pushed past one of the monks, his heart pounding, and asked urgently, Ellis, are you all right? As he entered the room, his eyes scanned for signs of an intruder, but everything seemed calm. No attackers, no visible threats. Joseph, who was already by Ellis's side, was asking her the same question. Are you all right, Ellis? Aiden quickly approached the maid and demanded, What happened? The maid, clearly shaken, stammered as she explained, I didn't do anything strange. I just turned off the candles to replace them, but she screamed the moment the lights went out. Aiden's gaze shifted toward Ellis, who was crying and trembling in fear. He recalled something from their time at the Duke's mansion. She always slept with the lights on. It suddenly clicked. She's still traumatized from being trapped underground by the Cerberus Guild. Turning to Joseph, Aiden asked softly, Could you clear the room for a moment? I need to talk to her. Joseph, worried about his daughter, hesitated for a moment before nodding. Okay. He instructed everyone to leave, and the room fell silent as the door shut behind them. As the room grew darker, Ellis's panic deepened. Her cries became more desperate, and she sobbed. It's dark. I'm scared. Help me, I don't want to die. Aiden knelt beside her, his voice steady and calming. No one can hurt you now, Ellis, he said gently. His voice seemed to cut through her fear, and she looked up at him, her tear-filled eyes locking onto his. Aiden extended his hand toward her, his expression filled with unwavering determination. "No one will lay a finger on my people, not even the Underlord." "Don't worry, Ellis," Aiden continued, his words firm and comforting. "I'll protect you. Always." Ellis, still trembling, slowly reached out and hugged Aiden tightly, her tears soaking into his clothes. As the candles were relit, their warm glow filled the room, bringing light and comfort. After some time, the two of them sat together on the bed. Aiden asked, his voice soft, "Are you feeling better now, Ellis?" Ellis nodded, though worry still lingered in her eyes. "Yes, but—" Aiden tilted his head, sensing she had something more to say. "What is it?" "You can tell me." She gripped her skirt nervously, her face pale, as she hesitated. Then, with a shaky voice, she asked, "Aiden, is it really okay for me to become a saint?" That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. If you'd like to see more manhwa recaps like this, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. That way, you'll stay updated on all my future content. Until next time, take care.